Kick-ass facts, pew 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 pew! In 1951, 6-year-old Luis Armando Albino was kidnapped in West Oakland by a woman who lured him with the promise of buying him candy. His 10-year-old brother sensed something was off, ran home to tell their mother. She immediately went to the police, prompting a search that led to no leads and no news. For decades, his mother never gave up hope. At first, she visited the police department daily, then weekly, then monthly, then annually, for decades. Unfortunately, she passed in 2005 without ever knowing what happened to Luis. He grew up on the East Coast. He was later adopted and grew up knowing he was adopted, but not knowing he had been kidnapped. He went on to serve in the Marines, later became a firefighter, and had a family of his own. It wasn't until 2024, more than 70 years later, that DNA testing and archival research revealed his true identity. His niece had taken a DNA test in 2020, which eventually led investigators to connect him with his birth family. After careful verification, Luis reunited with his family in Oakland, including his older brother, who sadly passed away shortly after meeting him. Authorities have not publicly disclosed who kidnapped Luis or the motive behind the abduction, and the case remains under investigation. Keith Moon, the insanely talented drummer for The Who, was basically a one-man demolition crew. He had a reputation for blowing up hotel toilets using everything from cherry bombs to bigger explosives. One story has him detonating a toilet after a noise complaint, then declaring, "That was noise, this is The Who." For a long stretch of New York City history, a huge number of leases all expired on May 1st at 9 a.m. At once, the streets would be clogged with people hauling furniture, pianos, and carts in a chaotic citywide moving day. It slowly faded as more standardized, staggered lease agreements became the norm. In Brazil, they release mosquitoes infected with a natural bacterium that makes them much less likely to spread diseases like dengue or Zika. These mosquitoes aren't genetically modified. The bacteria just blocks the viruses inside them. As the mosquitoes breed, this virus-blocking trait spreads through the local population. It is a smart, low-tech public health strategy to fight disease without spraying chemicals or wiping out entire mosquito populations. The word awkward comes from Middle English, combining awk from Old Norse afugr, A-F-U-G-R, meaning turned the wrong way, and the suffix ward, meaning direction. So it originally meant in the wrong direction or clumsily turned. It was first recorded in the 14th century. Awkward described physical misalignment, but later took on a metaphorical meaning such as social clumsiness by the 17th century. To protect their treasures and the resting place of emperors and nobles, some ancient Chinese tombs were protected with deadly traps. Archaeologists, not Indiana Jones, have found evidence of hidden crossbows that could fire arrows at intruders, and trapdoors that dropped unsuspecting thieves into pits, and even pools filled with mercury to ward off grave robbers. They were very serious about guarding their shit, and they were very clever engineers too. In 1973, psychologists at Princeton University conducted a famous experiment with theology students to show how situational factors influence helping behavior. Students were asked to prepare a talk on the Good Samaritan parable, which tells the story of a man who helps a stranger in need despite cultural differences, illustrating the importance of showing compassion and kindness to anyone, regardless of circumstances. After preparing their talks, the students were placed in a scenario where they encountered a man slumped and appearing sick in a doorway. Some students were told they were running late, while others had no time pressure. The result: those who believed they were in a hurry were much less likely to stop and help, even though they were about to preach on the importance of helping others. Back in 1386, in a small French village, a pig was put on trial for murdering a child. During medieval times, animals were sometimes treated like people under the law, especially if they caused harm. In this case, the pig was accused of attacking and killing a young child. The court proceedings were surprisingly formal. The pig was dressed in human clothes, sometimes even a little cloak or hat, and brought before the judges. Witnesses were called, and the pig was defended, usually by a lawyer. After being found guilty, the pig was sentenced to death. The execution itself was a public spectacle. The pig was hanged or sometimes drowned, depending on local customs, in front of the community as a warning. What a missed opportunity for a delicious pig roast. Some mushrooms glow with an eerie greenish-blue light thanks to a chemical reaction called bioluminescence. Found in forests across North America, Asia, and Europe, these fungi often go unnoticed during the day, but at night, they light up decaying wood with ghostly embers. In ancient folklore, glowing mushrooms were seen as a sign of fairy activity or bad omens, and even today, hikers who stumble upon them often describe the experience as supernatural.